Okay, hi there everyone. This is Kim Willis here, digital nomad, traveling through Asia at the moment, and yeah, enjoying the laptop lifestyle. I've been doing that for many years, and in fact, I think it's been 5 years now. 5 years that I've been, yeah, doing the digital nomad thing. Even my sons are in Asia now. So my eldest son is also a digital nomad. My younger son, he's not a he doesn't make his money online, but he is also in Asia. He's in Hong Kong. So my eldest son is in Vietnam. I'm in Cambodia, looking to move in the near future. But it's been an incredible experience. I recommend traveling. Broadens you. Also confirms a few prejudices that you might have already had. But yeah, it's a pretty good. It's a great adventure, and I'm delighted that I made the decision. I was a bit nervous about it because I hadn't been away from home in Australia for so long, 20 years. I was raising a family, like I guess most people are, or at least I've done it at some point or another. But look, once you get this online thing sorted out and you're making some income, you've got some choices. You've got more choices than you would have had before. Okay, so all right. So the name of the game is get the income flowing. It comes from traffic and then generating leads from the traffic. It's best to get a warm audience happening if you can, because people that know you, like you, and trust you are far more likely to do business with you. All right, that's the preamble. Now, what about this title? I discard people. It's a bit provocative, isn't it? Okay, it's not mine, by the way. I stole it, and I'll tell you who I stole it from. Hey, Will, how you doing there, Will? Good to see you again. Yeah, it's a provocative title. It's not mine. I should have thought of it, but yeah, well, you pick up ideas from everywhere as a marketer, as a content person, always creating content and always looking for ideas, because I understand that we can't be geniuses all the time. We sometimes need to look at what other people are doing, and I do that a lot, and I think everybody else does it as well. Yeah, this one came from a guy called Derek Halpern. All right, he's kind of a young marketer, a bit of an upstart kind of guy. I like him. I do. I like him. He was a product developer, got brilliant at social media, and sold a lot of his products from his social media presence. And he developed quite a big social media presence. He got invited on podcasts and built his audience that way and all the rest of it. So he's not doing that anymore. He's now a partner in a network marketing company. It's a bit of a change, a radical change, I'd say, but he's providing a lot of marketing firepower to the guys that run that company, because they didn't have that firepower, and Derek definitely did. But I was intrigued when I got an email from him about 2 months ago, and it had this title in the subject line there: I discard people. And I had an inkling as to what he was talking about, but I found it jarring. And that's okay, because one of the things that I learned a long time ago is that provocation sells. See, there's a message there. There's a mini lesson there. Provocation sells, providing it's the right type of provocation. And an ancillary technique to that is called the pick a fight technique. Okay, so you identify an industry trend that you're not happy with, or even a big bad company that you're not happy with. You've got to be careful about that one. You start naming names and all the rest of it. Or just a belief pattern that you think is holding people back, and you make that the enemy. So you pick a fight. Okay, you see it all the time. And the great Steve Jobs, he hired a guy called Guy Kiyosaki, great marketer. This is back in I think it was in the 80s, just before they were about to launch the Macintosh product. Okay, which at that time was kind of a breakthrough product, a little bit revolutionary in its concept. And I think around that time they introduced the mouse, because before then it was all about keyboard commands, wasn't it? There wasn't a mouse. So Apple introduced that. But Guy Kiyosaki took the fight up to the established players, and at that time it was DOS. That was the operating system. Okay, it was very clunky, and you had to know code and all this sort of stuff, and definitely not user friendly, right? So Jobs had the idea of bringing out a computer that was good for the ordinary man. Just people who weren't technically oriented could run the computer and hook that up to a mouse, and away you go. So then from there they created an advertising campaign with the great help of Guy Kiyosaki. And Guy picked a fight with the traditional PC industry, which at that time was IBM stroke Microsoft, right? So that's how it started. That's a good example of the pick. It's back. Yep, it's back. That happened to me the other day. The screen went blank. I don't know what the cause of that was, but anyway, it's I know what to do now when it happens. So that's the good news. Yeah. So what Derek is talking about is that he's saying that, you know, people come and go in our lives, don't they? And that's just the way it is. The people that you know today, many of them, I bet you didn't know them 5 years ago, at least some of them. Okay, I bet you didn't know some of them 5 years ago or 10 years ago or something like that. But we subconsciously discard people. So you can pretty it up, you can make it all warm and fuzzy, but that's what happens. We do it. Sometimes we outgrow people. Sometimes we get to the point where we decide that the person is annoying us or something. There's all sorts of reasons why it happens. Sometimes they discard us too. It happens. It happens. And they go off looking for someone else to talk to. Okay, so, but the bigger topic is really to do with the law of vacuum, prosperity law of vacuum. And certainly I know Will was a very good, great participant in a challenge that I ran, what was it, about 6 weeks ago. And one of the topics that we covered was the prosperity law of vacuum. Free up a space for the good you desire. Free up a space, right? And that's what Derek Halpern was saying. You've got to free up a space. And if there are people in your life that aren't, you know, they're not in sync with your new values and the direction that you're currently going in, well, you're going to have to make a decision. That's really what he was saying. And it's not just about people. It could be about activities. I think that's a big one as well. Just, you know, I spoke about on this challenge how I was constantly checking my emails, right? Checking my inbox every 5 minutes. Checking the inbox. And one of the reasons why that was happening is because I was being alerted to it by a ping noise, right? So every time an email came in, I'd get a ping, right? And it got to the point where I just had enough of the pinging, and I had to make a decision and to basically let go of this obsessive habit, checking the emails all the time. So I finally changed my settings. I no longer get the ping. I don't get anything. There's no pop-up. There's nothing, right? And the amount of times that I check my emails now, it's reduced by, well, it'd be 90%. It'd be 90%. So prosperity law of vacuum, it's an old topic, but it's always current. It's always relevant. And perhaps it's more relevant in this era, the information revolution, you know, this era. It's revolutionary times. And we're being bombarded with information left, right, and centre 24/7. And certainly the online world has had a big impact on that, and social media even more so. And you've got to be careful with social media. Social media can be wonderful, particularly from a business point of view. If you know what you're doing, once you've got the formula worked out, once you've cracked the code, social media is awesome. It's fantastic. But it can also be very seductive and addictive, can't it? And so sometimes people get sucked into it and check, and then I know even my son, he's more my elder son. He now has strict limits. He doesn't use Facebook for business, by the way. So he only logs onto Facebook for social reasons. And he said, now I've just basically worked it so that I only log on twice a day. I don't have it on all the time, right? Because I need to get my work done. Because what was happening was that I started scrolling the news feed a little bit. This is what he's telling me. Scrolling the news feed a little bit. And I thought, I'll just do this for a couple of minutes. Half an hour later, he's still scrolling the news feed. And he's watching this video, watching that video, reading this post and so on. And he said it was insane. I was losing maybe 2 hours a day, 2 hours of productive time a day. And then he had to catch up with his work because he's a digital marketer as well. He had to catch up. He's more on the technical side, but he had to catch up with his work because he lost that 2 hours during the day, the most productive part of the day. So he had to catch up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, sometimes 12 o'clock at night. It put him behind for the rest of the day. So you've got to be really careful about this, and particularly if you are using a platform like Facebook for marketing purposes, going to be on Facebook more than other people perhaps, and because of that, you're going to be exposed to temptation more frequently. And it's just so easy to get sucked into it, as I said before. And that's basically what Derek Halpern was saying. It's a provocative headline, but when you understand the thinking behind it, and he is kind of on the ruthless side. He'd be the first to say that. He's not, even though he's a brilliant marketer, he's not the kind of hail and hearty, farewell kind of guy, you know. He's not the pat on the back sort of a guy that if you met him somewhere, he's a little bit reserved. He's more of a performer than anything, and when the performance is finished, that's it. He doesn't want to talk to people, right? And so I think he's more ruthless, a little bit more cold-hearted in a way. But I absolutely get what he's saying, and I think if you think it through, you'd probably agree. You'd probably agree. The prosperity law of vacuum, invoking it, I think is such a great idea. And what I try and do is I invoke it. I do the vacuum thing every 2 to 3 months. Every 2 to 3 months. I've got it in my long range planner. And then what I do is that I go through all the different activities that I've been involved with in the previous week. Okay, because they would probably represent typical activities that I'd be doing 1 week, from 1 week to another, from 1 month to another. And then I just decide which ones are still relevant, which are not. Because even though I'm acutely aware of this issue and getting the problems associated with getting involved with useless activities, they still kind of creep up. And oftentimes I'll opt into someone else's email list because I want a piece of information that they were promoting. And now I'm getting new stuff being sent to me. I'm being bombarded and all of this kind of stuff. I'll give you another example here. There's a couple of situations recently where I opted in. I not only opted into their email list, but I also opted in for SMS messages. And that in itself represents more clutter. And it's not necessarily a bad thing if you're very careful about, you know, which people, which marketers you give your phone number to. But it's even worse when you get the SMS messages at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that happened to me 2 nights in a row this week. I didn't turn my phone on to silent because normally I don't have to because I don't get any calls during the evening. But I got two in a row because different time zone. It was their businesses in North America for them. And they were sending me SMS messages during their business day. But for me, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, right? So there's another example of clutter. So just, yeah, it's not fun. So I just want to let you just re-emphasize the point, just remind you about this point if you haven't done it before, because you can't build a tribe successfully. You can't generate leads successfully if you're cluttered. You just can't do it. You can't be effective at it, wearing so many different hats and all the rest of it. You've got to narrow the focus down, and you've got to pick 1 or 2 key things that you're going to focus on for now, and let go of those other things. They'll still be there. They'll still be there in 3 months' time. Guarantee it. They'll still be there. And you know what I've found is that when I kind of trick myself and saying, okay, well, I'll put these things to one side. I know they're important to me, so I'll come back to them in 2 or 3 months. You know something? When I come back to them in 2 or 3 months' time, I've forgotten what the heck they were about. Or they're just not relevant anymore because my journey has taken me further to another place. And those items, those pages, those emails that I decided to keep, whatever, they're no longer as relevant because I'm now at a higher place in my learning. I understand better. I know more. I have what I call a certain knowing, right? And so therefore, what was relevant 3 months ago may not be relevant today. What I thought was a really important document or page or something like that, when I see it 3 months ago, when I see it today, I'm thinking, who cares? So what? So that's the point I want to make, and you cannot be an effective marketer unless you ruthlessly cull those things that are preventing you from moving forward. You can't have it all. I wish, I'd like to believe in that fairy tale as well, but it just doesn't work like that in the real world. It's when we narrow it down. Same with niches. Narrow it down, get really clear about our niche, okay? So we've got to get rid of all other distractions and all other side issues. Narrow down the niche, and then you can create content that is laser targeted to that niche. Why? Because you invoke the prosperity law of vacuum and you removed all those peripheral areas, those other sub-niches that weren't really relevant to you. Just focus on a few things at a time. Okay, I can't see who, someone else is there, but I can't see who they are. Can't quite read the name. Oh, Burns, hi, good to see you again, Burns. Burns from the Philippines. Okay, all right. Well, that's basically a short one for today, but when I saw Derek's email with the subject line now, I thought, oh, this has got to be good for a quick talk. So I rolled it out, pulled it out, given it to you, and there we go. That's it. Any quick comments before I've got another great live tomorrow morning, my time. This one will be on my personal profile, but that'll be that's another topic, quite different, but it'll be a good one. If you're a friend of mine, you can look out for it. Okay, well, I am going to move on. Prosperity law of vacuum. I'm going to invite and say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Come on. Supposed to get a little pop-up. So annoying. Gee. There it is.